Hello everyone, welcome to RedBus US channel. In this video, we'll look at the H-1B visa 2024 lottery predictions with analysis based on past data, trends, and current market, dynamics as well. As most of you know, today is when the H-1B 2024 season starts. So we'll get, we'll get into all the details in the upcoming slides. Yeah. So this is what we'll cover in today's video. We'll look at the background, what are the key factors that will influence the H-1B lottery, and I mean all of these are nothing but the factors. So we'll cover all of these things in detail. So that's what we'll be doing. So first, if you are new to the process, it might be quite overwhelming for somebody who's doing for the first time. If you've already done it, you can skip this part. But just in simplistic terms, H-1B lottery is a common term that's used for a random selection process. This has been like there for a very, very long time. Whenever USCIS receives more than the required number of 85,000 registrations or applications, they run this random selection process. In the past, there were some attempts done to change this and make it based on salary or wage, but nothing happened actually, right? So eventually, they're back to a random selection process. So again, there is no lottery ticket or anything as such you buy. It's just the process name, nothing more than that. Yeah. So if you're thinking, that there is something as such, there is nothing as such. Now, in terms of how it will work for the FY24 season, which started today, technically, right? So the process has not changed. It's pretty similar to last year or year before, right? You'll get the entire pool of registrations, and then first they'll select the regular quota, which is about 65,000. Then who are not selected in that are put in a separate pool. But the master's quota people who are not selected will be taken into a second pool, and they will run lottery for another 20,000. So all in all, this increases the chances for master students, to be selected twice. Yeah. So this is something that was done as part of regulation. So overall, these are added up, and that's when the people are informed that they've been selected. So who are not selected will be put in an unselected pool, and that's what will be used, in case there is a second round lottery. Now that we have some background on the basics, let's quickly look at some of these factors that influence. So I'm not going to go each of these in detail because we will go into each of these in detail in the next slides. But on a high level, these are about the 7 factors we believe that are going to really have an impact on the H-1B registrations that are going to be filed for this year. So let's look at the first one, the historical H-1B trends and application filings, right? So this is how the overall trend looks like. So we've been tracking this for over 10 to 50, almost 10 years now, or more than 10 years now. So if you see, the trend, the way this whole thing works, and back in 2004, we had the recession effect where, there was no registration back then. Then it was taking a long time to fill, and then, the demand picked up. Again in 2008 and 9 time frame, there was again recession. So that's why you see this curve going up here, right? And after that, since 2014, we had lottery for the last 10 consecutive years. So you can see the demand has been skyrocketing. So it's pretty crazy. So, how the whole thing has been with the H-1B program. In terms of number of filings, you can just see that, in the first last, few years, until 2014, it was like, more or less, only except 1 year where we had lottery, everything was about 85,000. But since then, right, what has happened is there is significant amount of filings. They continue to grow from 100,000 to 120 to 200K, and then about, all in all, last year we had a record HM registrations, which is about 483,000, which is close to 500,000 more or less, right? So this is a crazy number to even imagine, and you're what do you call, the chances of getting selected going lower and lower every day. So, but the key purpose of these slides are to illustrate that the demand for H-1B continues to be very, very high, and we don't see that to come down. And what it tells is we will have H-1B lottery for this year, and we might expect, pretty much what we see here or even higher. So we'll come to the numbers in the last section, but this is what we expect. The second one is US economy, right? So on paper, if you look at the US GDP economic growth rate is about 2.7%, and the unemployment rate is about 3.4%. So these are pretty good numbers for the economy. But if you look at the overall things, the inflation is at an all-time high. So these are not very, very good for the overall job market, right? So Fed has been trying a lot to bring the to bring the inflation down. So they're really tightening up the monetary policy so that the unemployment goes up, so that it actually reduces the spending. So they want to do something called soft landing, but we don't know what will happen. But even though these things look positive, there's a big layoffs in the tech sector. So this may or may not be favorable for us, for the H1B visa season. That's the way we see it, right? In terms of that, so we may not have more, this may not encourage employers to file more H1Bs. Yeah, so that's the overall message from this market conditions. So the other big factor we see is the F1 students in the US, either new students or enrolled students on OPT and STEM OPT, right? So if you see, we had a negative 15% change. This is due to the pandemic year, right? And that last year we had in the 2021-22, it's became positive 3.8. So all of these accounting are mainly because of the COVID restrictions removed and people are able to travel. So what is important to note is this OPT numbers. We have currently 184K OPT students in the US, and in the previous years there were about 200, about another 400K, 1,000. So what is important is about 40% of these F1 students are in STEM category, which are science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? So if you add like the past 3 years, because STEM applicants get about 3 years of 24 months of OPT or extra OPT. So overall, they are in the US for about 3 years, right? So if you add up like the last 3 consecutive years, right, it comes to about 600K. And of that, if you take 40% of that, it comes to from 200 to 240K. Again, we're just taking some ballpark numbers, right? And not all of them may file, but even if half of them file, that's going to be 100K just coming from that. So it's a pretty significant contribution of H1B registrations from these applicants. So most of these OPT students, if they're in the US, they're either working, or in decent jobs, right? So if they have not lost their job, the likelihood of them filing H1B for this fiscal year is very, very high. So this is going to be a significant number that will drive up the H1B registrations for this year. So other factor that we see is H4 holders. So H4 spouses are not allowed to work in general when they come along with H1B, primary applicant. The reason is, there is no statutory, there is no law that tells that H4 people can work, right? So many of these professionals who had their jobs in outside of the country, so they may want to work. So it's very challenging for them. So many of the H4 visa holders will apply for for an H1B visa this year. The reason is, the chances of getting H4 EAD are very difficult, because to get H4 EAD, they need to have the green card process started, and they have to be at a certain stage where they have I-140 approved, or there are certain conditions they need to meet. But for new H1B holders, this is going to be hard because of these layoffs. There is the GCA processings are delayed, and also the labor department is taking longer. So overall, if you're a new H4 holder in the US, you have no other option other than going for an H1B. So that's why we see that the new H1B holders will apply more than before, because of the delays with all of these things. But unlike if you're already on H4 EAD, somebody whose green card is in process, and who have the H4 EAD, for them there's a lot of positive news. They may not go for backup options, because since January of 2023, USCIS lost a court lawsuit, and based on the settlement, if you file H4 EAD together, they'll be adjudicated together. So there is technically no delay in adjudication, so you would be able to get that. So that's why H4 EAD holders may not be willing to file this. Yeah, so that's the key message. So net on net, it is going to still have an impact on the number of H4 holders filing for H1B this year. On top of that, the premium processing is also planned. Again, this one is delayed, but this may or may not have impact. The next factor we see is the H1B applicants who did not get selected. So we've seen people who applied 4 to 5 times, even more times also, right? And the cost is very, very low. So that's why we see all the previous applicants, a good amount of them would come back and apply. So this is going to add up the H1B registrations count for this fiscal year. The other part is approvals and approval trends. So you can see here, this is the 13 to 21, all of these are during Trump administration. But since Biden administration taken office, these are in single digit denial rates. So this is very, very encouraging for employers to file H1Bs. because USAS is not giving them a hard time, right? They're going by the rules, and it's kind of good. So this is very encouraging. So this will increase the H1 registrations from employers because it's easy for them to file. The second is approval rates. You can see here the approval trends are in like 20%. So the denial rate. These are global denial numbers. They're double digit in the Trump era, and post that, right, we see that they're coming into single digits in the refusal rates. So overall, all of this data is very, very encouraging, for them, because they can get approval as well as they can get visa stamping for them without any hassle. So this is very positive for employees, and they'll be more willing to file. So this more, this is actually good for filing. So there will be more people filing it, right, or more employers rather. So the other big one is the low filing fee. So this go $10 for this current year, and this is planned to go up to $215 maybe for next fiscal year. This is again in discussions, right? It's around comment period, so we don't know if this will go up. But again, nobody want to take chances, right? So I think that it's easier for them to file this year. So the last factor, so this particular number, which is low factor, will increase the number for H1 registrations. Yeah. So the last factor is USA has actually issued a notice of intent to deny for people who did file multiple registrations fraudulently, just to increase the chances. So this is a sample, NOID. As you can see, you can read this. I'll put the link in the description. You can read the article and all of this. What is in here, right? But the idea is all the people who try to game the system by filing more than multiple H1 registrations just to have higher chances in lottery. They've been like, some of them have been like already picked, and they've been like sent these NOIDs in later stages. So this is some of these steps by USAs will decrease the number of H1 registrations, because the fraud can be reduced. Again, we can't see how it will impact, but again, this overall, this definitely should deter some of the employers to do less fraud, rather I would say. But we don't know. IT body shops are here, and they'll try to sell the American dream, and try to do this fraud. So again, this is something to watch for as well. So in summary, this is how the overall things look like. So we know that there will be H1 registration lottery for sure, based on the historical trends. The growth of economy, it's kind of neutral, because even though we have less unemployment, but it's kind of neutral because the inflation, all of that pressures are there. So we might expect slightly lower H1 registrations due to that factor. F1 student situation, we'll get more because there are more people who are looking for that. H4, it's also more because there are more H4 holders looking for H1Bs, right? In order to work for them. And the past trends or past applicants who did not get picked, so they also will file. So this is going to impact more H1 registrations. And the approval trends are very positive. So that's why this also will increase the number of H1 registrations, right? And the low fee and the future fee increase will also account for more people filing H1 registrations, right? The last factor is USA is cracking down on this fraud, right? So this will discourage, and that will decrease it. But if you see, there are overall, holistically, there are more factors favoring the number of H1B registrations to be filed than not favoring. So overall, we expect that for this year, it will be pretty similar to last year. And the numbers, this is $1 million question. Nobody knows, right? But again, we are doing an estimate, and this is what we've been doing all these years. So we estimate that for FY24 season, we may see anywhere from 550,000 to 600K H1B registrations to be filed for FY 2024 season, because next year things may change. So I guess people will not take chances. So we're expecting at least these numbers to happen. Again, we don't know if this will really happen, but this is our expectation. So we've been predicting for the past many years. So we're pretty close. So we hope this is kind of gives you a guidance on what to expect for this fiscal year. Yeah. So in terms of timeline, I think this is already published, so we won't go into the details. So the results would come in, the filing is already started. It's from today until March 17th, right? And after this, the results would come out in the last week. Then you can file starting from April 1st, and you have the end dates for 90 days until June 30th, right? So overall, what are your thoughts? This is what we have done. So share your thoughts, and we look forward to catching up in the comments. Thank you again for watching. We appreciate you taking the time to watch the video.